Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Richard, and welcome back to the Stock Market Outlook video sponsored by MarketSmith. As always, we're going to run through the major indexes, analyze the charts, also talk about the mega caps, and also run through a few leading stocks that I'm watching as of this moment. At the very end of the video, I'll give you my overall take on the health of the market. As I run through this, if you do find my analysis helpful, please go ahead and take just a few seconds and leave me a like down below. It helps me out immensely, as well as my channel. And of course, subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this one every single week. And before we actually run through the analysis, I just want to say that I hope everybody had a fantastic holiday season. Happy New Year to everybody. And with a new year, it's basically a chance to start fresh. And if you didn't have the best 2022, you can turn over a new leaf and kind of come back strong. Of course, you want to analyze what you did wrong and your weaknesses from 2022, but you can move forward and kind of start with a fresh mindset. And if you did have a great 2022, that's fantastic. Keep that momentum going, and let's all have a fantastic year in the markets. All right, so first taking a look at the Nasdaq Composite, we're on a daily chart here. You can see that we're below all the key moving averages as of this moment. We're trying to form out a short-term range here, and there were some kind of signs of demand late last week, and overall, just in general, leading stocks are acting a little bit better than these indexes that are kind of being weighed down by those mega cap stocks, as we'll get into later on in the video. But overall, not a bad end to last week. I definitely want to see us get back above a rising 21 EMA, get back above that 50 SMA, and then challenge that 200 SMA as well. This area right here is going to be a potential spot for resistance if we do rally into that point. So watch this key level around 10,000 or so, and you can see that could be a potential spot where some profit taking could come back in, but we're right near these lows of the year, and we'll have to see where it goes from here. Definitely the potential for undercutting these lows is still in play, and we'll just have to take it one day at a time. Looking at that 60-minute chart, you can see that we had a very strong close to end out basically 2022, but so far we're just kind of within this range from about 10,500, and the bottom is around 10,100, 10,200. So you can draw lines there, and that can be a potential spot of resistance or a potential pivot point as well, and we'll have to see whether we start off the year strong and push through this level basically early this week. So that's basically the Nasdaq Composite on a 60-minute chart. Also going over to a weekly, it's always important to take in that longer term perspective, and you can see nothing's really changed on that front. We remain below a longer term declining 40-week moving average. That's this black line here, and we're still in a bear market. Decent close to end out last week, and we'll have to see whether there's a potential change in character if we do take out last week's highs and get back above those moving averages. Once again, we're at a potential spot where support has come in the past. Looking to the left, you can see we're also just barely undercutting this level. Once again, this very key level to the downside. I'm also watching this level, which is the highs before that March 2020 correction, and we'll just have to see what happens. This remains the index that's kind of lagging. The Dow is much stronger, the S&P is much stronger, as well as the small caps, just because those mega cap kind of tech stocks are a little bit more prevalent in this index. But with that said, let's move on over back to a daily chart and also go to the S&P 500. This looks very similar. Once again, we're forming out this range here from about 3850 and to the low end is about 3780. You can draw lines here, definitely set alerts here, and we're below those key moving averages as well, but a little bit closer and well above these previous lows right here. So this index is stronger. You can see we had resistance at that 200-day moving average, and once again, if we do push through and break through last week's high and push up, this would be a potential spot where we could see some resistance, as well as that 50-day moving average, as well as that declining 21 EMA. Those are just areas to be aware of, and we'll have to see whether we can break through those and get back above all those key moving averages. Moving on to the IWM, you can see very similar action, holding well above these lows, but we're below those key moving averages, and very similar, we're forming out this range. Looking at the IWO, the Russell 2000 Growth Index, this looks very similar to the IWM, and it remains in a longer term downtrend, but definitely stronger than the Nasdaq as of this time right now. So looking at the FFTY, the Innovator IB50 ETF, this is extremely weak, just trending below these key moving averages. And going over to a weekly, you can see this is in a clear stage 4 downtrend at this moment. So definitely want to see this trend change. It doesn't have to get to new highs, but we just want to see a change in trajectory when it comes to those potential growth stock leaders. And lastly, looking at ARK, you can see that this is also in a major downtrend, but looking at a daily chart, there was a potential, subtle move upwards last week. Definitely not a change in character just yet, but we'll have to see whether this can push through those moving averages. So in terms of the overall indexes, we're below those KMAs. The S&P 500 is a little bit stronger along with the smaller caps, and the NASDAQ continues to lag, and we'll have to see whether we can push higher through those MAs. But as of this moment, most of those trends are down using those key moving averages. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about those mega cap stocks. Looking at Apple first and foremost, also below those key MAs. A little bit of constructive action to end out last week, potentially a range forming here as we just barely undercut these levels. So potential spot to look for an entry for people who basically favor that type of setup. For me, I like to see an initial push up, a retest of a key level, a pivot, retest of a moving average, and then kind of a confirmed higher low. That's what I kind of wait for. But I know a lot of people do like this type of setup, and it can be extremely fruitful in these liquid mega cap stocks when they do work and there is a significant change in that market direction. But as of this moment, we're still below all those moving averages and a longer term and within a longer term downtrend. Moving on to Tesla, here we go. This is also in a very negative trend. It got very oversold here and rallied late last week. You can see it's had resistance at that 21 EMA multiple times. So as it rallies back into that level, I'd definitely be watching for, once again, a potential reversal. Volume is getting extremely high. So we'll just basically have to see what happens. But as of this moment, we basically remain in a longer term downtrend as well as a short term downtrend below declining 21 and 50 SMA. Moving on to Google. This is also just below all the key moving averages. Not much to say here, holding above these prior lows. Looking at Amazon, let's bring up that chart here. You can see also just trending down. So this is really why the NASDAQ is lagging and just the indexes overall are showing a lot of weakness, because these mega caps, which have such a major influence on those indexes, are just basically in short term and intermediate term and long term downtrends. Looking at Facebook or Meta, let's bring up that chart as well. This is actually stronger than the other indexes recently. You can see after this gap down, there's a potential trend change right here. Let's go over to a 60-minute chart. You can see it's just forming out a range. You could draw in basically a downward trend line here. You've got pivots at this area, but we'll have to see what happens and if it can basically rally up from this point, maybe towards that 200-day moving average. That would be a logical spot. If you are kind of playing just a short-term trade on this, just take profits and just watch for potential reversal action if we do push up higher from this point. But it remains in a longer-term downtrend. I definitely want to be clear about that. Also bring up Netflix. Let's bring up that chart. This is a little bit stronger. Basically testing its 50-day moving average, just reclaimed that late last week. And you can see its RS rating is actually an 84 despite this very significant drop, which shows you basically how weak many stocks have been. But it could potentially be starting a stage 2 uptrend if we do see a push higher on large volume. But we need to see that come in. Right now it's just kind of stage 1 basing action. Let's go to a weekly chart and you can see that a little bit more clearly. Here we had a nice breakout on volume, but you can see that the 200-day moving average, or the 40-week in this case, is still declining. So maybe form out a base here over the next couple of weeks. This becomes the pivot, then we get a breakout, and then we could potentially see another move up in this stock. Bringing up some chip names, let's bring up NVIDIA. And you can see that this got rejected hard near its 200-day moving average, back below all the moving averages. And we'll just have to see what happens here. Right now it's in a short-term down cycle below declining 21 EMA. AMD as well doesn't look too great and is just below all those MAs, but a lot of the biotech and basically pharma companies are in strong uptrends. These look great, and definitely this is where a lot of the money is flowing, and I'm watching a lot of these for my watch list next week. UTHR is acting great. ACLX, which is definitely not a liquid leader or a mega cap, but is setting up really nicely. Looking at a weekly chart, you can see we're consolidating right above this prior base pivot. Nice double inside week. So these are the type of names that I'm watching pretty closely. CPRX is another name that's been acting well and trending, pulling back into that 21 EMA. So just in general, when the indexes are below those key MAs and you're looking at stocks and they're trending above rising moving averages, those are the leaders. Those are the ones that you want to focus on, the ones with great relative strength if you are going to go long in this market. So overall, that's pretty much it for this video. Looking back at the major indexes, the NASDAQ, the trend is still negative, but we're at a spot where some support could take hold, but we have to get back above that rising 21 EMA. And just in general, mega cap is holding down in these indexes. There's a lot of individual names, especially in the bio space, that are acting a lot better. So if you pick and choose your spots, manage risk, there's definitely some opportunities if we do push higher from this point. So overall, once again, Happy New Year. I hope you guys have a great 2023. Let me know kind of your plans for this year down below in the comment section. And if you're watching up until this point, thank you so much. I think we're going to have a fantastic year. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in future videos. Take care.